Once you get home and you're like, okay, like I went to Innovative for a reason and I'm just going to trust the process. And in the end, the process worked out great for me.
Welcome to Smiles in the Wild, a podcast that shines a light on transformative journeys through full arch smile reconstructions. Hosted by Dr. Olson, each episode is an up-close and personal look at the life of a patient who has experienced transformative life change through implant dentistry. Broadcasting directly from the places they feel most at home, whether that's in their living room, at their workplace, or amidst their favorite hobbies. We bring you the authentic stories of renewed confidence, joy, and fulfillment. Let's jump in.
This is the first episode of Smile in the Wild. I am super excited about our first guest. I've been thinking about this gentleman ever since I came up with this concept for the show. So basically the whole concept is we're here to celebrate the numerous obstacles that these amazing patients overcome through maybe decades of suffering with their teeth and dental work and struggling with finding a good solution to get out of pain and love their smile. And so we have a great option here, a great solution for treatment that allows us to use dental implants to screw in a set of teeth. It's a one-day procedure and complete it over the course of a few months. And so this is an amazing solution for people. And our guests that we're going to have on the show will have gone through this process and want to get their take on it, their story. And so the wild component, the smile in the wild, is that we want to celebrate what they're able to do with their life outside of obviously being in the dental office, how it's impacted their day-to-day, how it's impacted some of the highlights of their life. So in their career, their hobbies, those type of things. So today I'm really excited to have Josh Hartwig. He's a wedding photographer. Looks like, I mean, from my research, got a beautiful wife, a lovely family. He's from Florida. He traveled to see us here in Springfield, Missouri. Obviously, a lot of trust to be able to do that. And hey, Josh, thanks for joining us, man. I'm really excited. I love your story. I know it's going to encourage a lot of people. There's tons of people that are, take you back, maybe 3-4 years ago, they're where you were at and wanting to process and figure this journey out, who to trust, what to expect. So, by the way, this is a good point before we jump into the questions is, hey, if you haven't subscribed yet and you want to catch more information about what we do here at Innovative Dental, the process of dental implants, learn from, great patients like Josh and experts. We have another podcast that's going to be launching too called All on Experts, where I will interview other doctors who place implants and screw in teeth, just like I do, to give our patients a better perspective of not just my opinions and thoughts on the matter. So I think it'll all be very helpful for our patients that are looking for this treatment to make wise decisions and end up with an amazing smile. So let's jump into it. Hey, Josh, tell us where you're smiling from right now.
So I'm in Wellington, Florida. I'm just west of West Palm Beach.
Awesome. All right, my man. So what do you do there? I kind of alluded you're a wedding photographer, but you're more than just that. I mean, you're a big deal. So let's hear about it.
I'm not. So I am first and foremost a husband to an amazing wife of 10 years. I have 6 children, 3 of which are adopted and 3 of which are biological children. I am also as you said before, a wedding photographer. I am a football coach, a basketball coach,
Goodness.
an upstanding member of my community. Anyhow, I try to be, and that's what it is.
Yeah. So you're in your home right now, smiling there, right?
I am.
There you go. Okay. So it wasn't all smiles, right? I mean,
No.
So I'm going to show a photo, obviously, to our guests so they can kind of see where you came from, right? I think it's going to be
exciting.
helpful to, I mean, you have an amazing smile, super confident dude. And I commend you for honestly just letting us share your story. I know it takes some courage. And so, share with us what your life was like before coming to Innovative Dental Implant Center.
So I'll start at I don't want to say the beginning, but the beginning of the degradation of my mouth, if you would. When I was give or take 25, probably, I always grew up, I had a little gap here in the center and I got a little prosthesis. It was the original Snap-on smile, if you would, just to cover that little gap. And then from years of grinding, my teeth were just getting smaller and smaller over the course. It wasn't perceptible, if you would, other than to me. And the next thing you know, the picture that doctor is going to show is what my end result was prior to coming to Innovative.
Yeah. Yeah. So how was it impacting I mean, you kind of mentioned it's painful
Yeah,
and probably frustrating, but how
very.
was it impacting, your relationships? You mentioned it was trouble eating. How was it impacting your
So
work?
yeah, so I'm a wedding photographer. I travel all over the world for weddings. I remember I was in the Jersey Shore doing a wedding down on the shore, and I got so sick from an abscess, I was taking pictures and walking over and throwing up in the dumpster.
Wow.
And I there were a couple ways that I learned to kind of manage some of the pain. I would have to sit there with well, not freezing because that would be ice, but with cold as possible could be water in my mouth to numb the pain. I would spit it out, come take some away from folks so they couldn't see, come back, take some photos. It would hurt so bad I would have tears coming down my eyes. Then I could go back and get a super cold drink of ice water and it would stop hurting. Um, so that's one of the bigger things is, the I would get an abscess or something and, the face would swell up. I can't show up and be in public like that, with half a swollen face and people are looking at you all sideways and you got to keep your, water in your mouth, cold water so it doesn't hurt anymore. Those are just some of the things that like really stood out to me or even like eating dinner. Part of the reason I photograph weddings is because of the food, right?
Yeah.
Most people have good food at their weddings,
Right.
and sometimes you get a well done piece of potato or something, and you would bite, and it would just click. There goes a piece of your tooth in the middle of the event, and you're like, "Oh, what do I do?" You can't do anything. You just gotta, go forward and try and make whatever happen that you can while suffering. That for me, the biggest thing was the pain and the swelling.
Right.
On top of the unsightly teeth, if you would.
Sure.
Even though I had that prosthetic thing over, it wasn't it wasn't doing me any justice, if you would.
Yeah. No kidding, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So was there, you gave me a great example, a story of that, some challenge. Was there any other life moments you would say that were like you're missing out on that were heavily impacted by this?
So, like, to be I remember so I have 6, so it's hard to remember which. It was one of my kids' birthdays, and I had a toothache, and again, whoever's watching this knows exactly what I mean. I've broken bones, I've had stitches, I've had surgeries, I've had all sorts of painful things happen to me, but there is nothing that compares to mouth pain. Like, it will take over your life in the moment, when it hurts, and that was the biggest thing for me is the pain. On one of my kids' birthdays, I had to sit in bed because my mouth hurt so bad, and again, I'm okay with pain or what have you, but, like, mouth pain, if, you're sitting there and a tear just falls down your eye because there's no other reaction that you can have, other than screaming and fussing or whatnot. I don't like pain. Pain and I don't do well together, And that was again, one of my biggest things was the pain and not being able to do things at time because of the pain.
Right. Yeah, man, no kidding. Sounds like a pretty tough road. How long did you feel like you suffered like that?
I grind at night and it just teeth break off. I would wake up in the morning and just pick tooth matter out of my mouth,
Goodness.
you
All
know?
right.
Yeah,
It
not good.
sounds like a rough, I mean,
Yeah,
for those that have gone through that, they can relate. I'm
sure.
sitting here imagining what that'd be like. I can't imagine how frustrating day in and day out being reminded of the constant battle and deterioration of your health, right? I mean, that's kind of how you're feeling.
So, I'm glad you said that, right? It's not just, "Hey, this is limited to my mouth,"
Mhm.
right? So I would get abscesses so bad, my eye would close. And I'm like, where does this infection go in my body? Even though, you can only take so many antibiotics over the course of a year. And the infection in your mouth goes through your heart. Right. And that was
Really?
one of the deciding factors to me to move forward with you guys was I don't want to be sick overall because of this. Yeah, my mouth's sick, but I don't want my entire being to be sick just because, my mouth is messed up.
So, Josh, I know you've had a lot of challenges coming up to this decision on, finally, what do I do to fix this? And so some of those challenges were from, deteriorating teeth, your deteriorating smile. Tell us what you've been going through, what life has been like with your teeth, and specifically, what are some of the challenges you've been facing?
So my teeth being degraded down as far as they had been. I again, I had little tiny nubs for some of my teeth. That just it keeps you from doing the things you're supposed to do with your mouth, right? Aside from constant infection, because I had broken and cracked teeth, the teeth here, especially particularly in the front, like across the front six or eight, were just degraded down so far that I couldn't bite, right? I had to cut the food and put it in the back of my mouth on one side, right? Because the other side, half the tooth is broken off here. So I had to chew on one side where I had the greatest portion of tooth, if you would. And that, chewing on the same side over and over, it just has a proclivity to wear down the tooth even more, right? So more breakage, more possibility for infection, more possibility for a cavity and whatnot. So that was super difficult, is not being able to bite things straight on, to cut like your teeth are intended to do.
Sure. Now, did you ever get any, and I know this is kind of gross, but did you ever get any abscesses or pus pockets from all the infection that you were
Oh,
dealing with?
absolutely. I shoot. That was probably my most deciding factor, was because of I figured a tooth, again, I'm not a dentist, but the tooth cracks up so high, it goes probably below the gum line, and that's where the infection can set in. I have had above this tooth in particular, I had it over here, abscess that would just come. I take some medicine, the antibiotic, it would go away for a little while, it would come right back, it would swell up and hurt, my eye. And then, this is the side that I ate on. I would get the infection here. I couldn't bite and I could barely chew on this side. So it was just a
Right.
whole cluster of things going wrong at the same time. And
Yeah.
again, that's just when you can like push on your face and, the pus comes out, that
Mhm.
it's not it's not a good thing.
No kidding.
I don't know any other way to say it. It's not a
Yeah.
good thing. I could say it, it's my mouth. It was nastiness in the mouth. And that's I don't like pain. And when I'm in pain, I'll be frank with you and admit it. I would have a tendency to take it out on those around me. And then I would look back and be like, "Hey, why would I, be upset with this? Oh, because my mouth is killing." You
Right.
know?
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, yeah, you talk about being suffering and pain. It's on your mind. It's always kind of that cloud over your day. And
Well, the
yeah,
exact
it's
that is
hard
the
not to let it impact your entire mood for
Yeah,
sure.
no, that is exactly it. It is
Yeah.
on the days it's not there, you're like, "Huh, okay, but my smile looks not great." And then on days it's there, it is a literal dark cloud just sitting over you the entire time.
Yeah. So during this period, we're talking about all the challenges that you faced and all the suffering you've kind of gone through and the way it was impacting your profession, your family life, obviously your work. What was the reason? You mentioned earlier maybe it was some perception of cost, but what are some of the reasons? Obviously, you got priorities with kids, you got other lots of things that pull our attention. So my point of asking this question isn't really to say, well, what's wrong with you, man? Why didn't you do this sooner? Clearly, there's things that hold people up. And what were yours?
So what held me up initially was, so I'm a research kind of guy, right? I can almost tell you everything about the process that you did to me that you can, because I dive that deep into it, right? So for me, it was initially the what I perceived as the barbaric, if you would, just ripping teeth out of your mouth and putting stuff in it seems sort of barbaric. And you're like, man, like I am going to put off voluntarily going through this sort of pain. That was the initial thing. And then obviously cost was an issue for me because again, I thought that it was individual tooth, individual abutment, individual implant or crown, everything. And you look around and you see $1,500 per implant. And I need how many of those? And I need abutments and I need good crowns to go over them. And again, I was thinking it might cost me $200,000 to get this done. And I was like, what that clearly that's a mitigating factor in moving forward
Sure.
with the process.
Yeah. So obviously, you started some research, maybe had some misunderstanding of the process and what was
Yes.
involved. When did you learn that there was a solution? When did you discover that there might be a good option for you? Was it like a
So
video
my
you
good
landed on mine, or did
option
you land it on some others and keep on rolling?
so that was the thing, right? In my research, I had had some issues in a short amount of time. And then one day, like I said, I woke up and my whole entire face was swollen. I was closed. I was black. I mean, it was like out to here. And my wife's like, "We have to get your teeth done." And I'm like, "You know what? You're absolutely right. Let's see what's what." I was on the verge of moving to Costa Rica, if you will, before my wife and I got together. Love Costa Rica, been there plenty of times, was willing to live down there, and I know that they have world-class dental care down there, which okay, fine, and I can get it for what's perceived as cheaper than what we're led to believe in the States. So I was doing research. I'm like, oh man, hey, I'm definitely considering going to Costa Rica. I can get it for this particular cost, so on and so forth. Well, my neighbor just happens to run a dental office. And she tells me, now, in between these times, I had watched literally every video that you put out. Okay. You were the one that kept coming up over and over in all these searches that I would do. I would see at least one or two of your videos. Of course, I'm going to watch it. I've watched every video on all on four, all on six, tooth replacement, this on a third. So my neighbor was like, yeah, you could go to Costa Rica or somewhere else and get it done. But if something happens and you need a replacement for that implant or you need an abutment for that implant, they might not be able to tell you who the maker is. You might not be able to get the right size. You might just get a shanty product. And there's no like consumer protection down there or anything, that you can go and be like, hey, I have a problem. It's basically, oh, well, you know? So even my neighbor was the one that finally was like, I was pretty set on going to Costa Rica and have it done. My neighbor was the one that kind of, she has no skin in the game whatsoever. She's like, here's what it is. These are the things you need to worry about and figure out. And I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I can see what's happening at Innovative. I was like, let me just go up there and see. Let me send over my information and see what this guy says, what it was at the time.
Yeah. What was it like emotionally? I'm kind of trying to capture this moment of what it would be for you to finally have come to this, maybe not even deciding that you're going to do it at our office yet, but what was it like when you finally go, you know what, I'm going to find a place, I'm going to fix this. What was the emotion like then? And how long did it take for you to go from I'm doing this to where I've decided on who to trust?
The first time I spoke to you, we did a consult. It was sort of like this. And to me, it was, you are the exact same person on these and come to pass in the office with your staff, so on and so forth. You're the exact same person that I saw in the videos, right? You don't put on for the camera or whatnot. And to me, the realness factor, right? You're real, right? You're not just the face for the camera making cute videos for your office because you want likes and views and you want people to come and look. This is who you are. That you are the person on the videos. So the initial phone call was, hey, let's see what we can do. Let's see what the cost and process is. Let's see what's what. So from there, it was, I'm no longer going to Costa Rica. Let's see what Innovative says because I've watched you over and over so many times. I feel like I know you basically. I feel like you and I would play a round of golf if I lived in Missouri,
Wouldn't want to play with
So
me, man. I'm terrible.
Um, so from the first interaction I had live with you to where for me, again, I'm a huge trust person, and that's why I didn't go to Costa Rica. I don't know, I don't know you per se, but like I could find a random, dental tourism thing or something down there, and you go down there blind, and you're like, ah. For me, it was when I talked to you initially, and then it was just more emphatically emphasized that I made the right choice the first time I made it up there to see you.
Cool.
Again, I'll just reiterate, like the person you are right now, the person you see in all the videos, the YouTube videos, the reels, everything, that is your exact demeanor. And for me, someone that doesn't put on for the camera and is just who they are, they're real. They're honest. They're legit. And that was what helped me figure out that I could trust Innovative to come and do the right thing by my mouth. And again, throughout the entire process, even now, it's just reinforced over and over and over that I made the right decision.
That's awesome, man. I love to
Yeah.
hear that. So, you make the decision that, you visited our office, like you said, and you instantly kind of felt affirmed in your choice. You know, what was, I mean, obviously there's a high there where you're like, yes, I finally found it,
Yeah.
but there's also probably still some concerns. I mean, obviously we create content just like this. I love this long form content where we can actually have a thorough dialogue about the whole process that someone's going through. But you had to have had some emotions that maybe were still concerns that you may have voiced to me. I can't remember all the discussions, but what were some of the concerns that you remember going into the process of having the teeth removed and implants done?
So my reservations initially were, first and foremost, what's it going to look like in the end? Right? That was my thing. If I'm going through this process and making this investment, what is it going to be like for me in the end? Am I going to be satisfied with that? Second off was, what's the pain level going to be? Right? I know a lot of, listen, I follow you religiously on all of your socials. I see every single, even now,
Yeah,
I'm a year out from having my finals place. I still watch every single video, every single short, every single reel, every single TikTok, everything that comes. It was, and a lot of the reason I said a lot of people, the comments, the pain, right? The process, I had well, most of my teeth, a good majority, but some of them were little nubs and some of them were a little bit bigger and some of them were literally just ground down to the gum. You're the one that handled them. That, what's the recovery process going to be like? Is my face going to swell up? You see some people, they have black eyes and just that, it's a plethora of things that kind of, like, yeah,
yeah,
I gotta, like, hopefully I can pull this together and manage to get through to the other side.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So, how was? I mean, obviously, I mean, you live in Florida. You know this, and obviously we know why you chose Innovate Dental. We're obviously very thankful you did, but you passed up quite a few options there.
Sure.
And so, what was traveling like to Springfield, Missouri, staying here for treatment? Obviously, you made a number of trips, but what was that like? So, if somebody's watching right now, they're probably going, Springfield, Missouri, is that really
Yeah,
nice?
I travel a lot, like I said, for work. I fly out of Miami, I fly out of Fort Lauderdale, I fly out of West Palm. One of the reasons I like flying out of my local airport, which is West Palm, it's an international airport, if you would, is it's small, right? There are like 3 gates, and it takes me 30 seconds to walk from where I parked my car to be at my gate. And so I didn't know much about Springfield, to be downright frank with you. Got there, first time, Springfield International Airport is exactly like Palm Beach International Airport. It's super small, it's super compact, it's never too big. That was one of the, to be honest with you, one of the easier things about the entire process was traveling to Springfield. Again, I'm a seasoned traveler and yay, but getting out of Atlanta, getting out of Houston, getting out of Chicago, those are all hassles, and you getting out of LaGuardia or JFK or something like that is just, it's like a huge, huge hassle. To me, Springfield, you get off, you walk up maybe 40 feet, you get your bag, you walk another 40 feet to the car or to the car rental place, then 40 more feet out to the car. It was the easiest, some of the easiest travel. A couple of the later trips, I looked forward to it, to be honest with you. Like, oh, I get to go to Springfield, walk through this super easy. For people considering traveling to Springfield, it's easy, right? It's not Atlanta, it's not Miami. You get off the plane, you get your bag, you move along to the car rental, and you're out the door. And it's 20 minutes, half an hour, almost all highway miles to the office. That for me, it couldn't be, as a, I don't want to say professional traveler, but as someone that travels often, it couldn't be more easy to get to Springfield and to get to your office than it already is. And I initially was asking myself, like, I know he's from Missouri, but like of all places to put a dental office, but going to and fro, It's an amazing place to have a dental office. It really is. The office is straight off the highway. You don't have to do a lot of crazy turns and go here and there and whatnot. And same for the airport. It was just an easy travel for me. So I can definitely appreciate that.
Very cool, man. So now you're coming in for your procedure. You've decided, obviously, you've done the difficult challenge of trusting somebody with your hard-earned money, and now it's time to do your procedure. So when you arrive at Innovative Dental Implant Center, what was your initial thought as you come into the practice and interact with the people?
It's almost as if I was at dental Disneyland, if I could say that, right? Dental Disneyland, you walk in, everyone's like, "Hey, how are you? And go get some coffee. Your thing is upstairs. You can go ahead and wait." I waited 4 or 5 minutes sometimes. Like, for anybody that goes to the dentist to only have to wait 5 minutes to get back to see to the doctor, that's a plus for me. All of the staff is amazing, knowledgeable, friendly, professional. If I could give you a 25-star review, I would.
Oh, man, I love that. Thanks so
Absolutely.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
So I have to ask, so obviously, you've made the choice to do the treatment, and you walk into our office. You probably still have some questions, right? Even the
Sure.
facility, I would say one of the disadvantages, and I tell our team this all the time, one of the disadvantages of building a really beautiful place, having good marketing, communicating and getting the word out of what we do, is people come in, and they should, with high expectations.
Right.
And we have to meet and exceed those expectations. So we set the bar high, and we need to jump over it, right?
And it
So
shows. It
yeah,
shows.
so I want to know, how was your experience? How did it impact your confidence that you had made the right choice?
So that's exactly it, right? Like I said, you and your office is, again, living in the year 3000. And I was just like, man, they have all of this. So I had, again, I'll just revert back to, I had researched I did the continuing education for the particular thing that you use. I don't know if we're allowed to say or whatnot, but you know what I'm talking about. The particular guided system that you use,
Yeah,
right? I watched their education. I watched the videos on their websites that only the dentists and the PAs are supposed to watch, so on and so forth. So I knew going in that it was, I was going to be in good hands. It was, with all the technology, right? And it was just up to you to execute it,
correct.
right? And to me, I'm a technology guy, right? I try to keep my business at the forefront of technology. I'm not as technology as you, but I try to keep my business at the forefront of technology and use all the things that are up and innovative
Yeah,
and new. So again, just walking in, and I know what the process is going to be, right? And it's just up to you to follow the steps. And for me, I'll tell you the truth. I know that you are essentially the spokesperson. Basically, you teach people how to do the process that you're doing to other people, right? So for me, you're the master because you're even teaching the teachers. And for me, that was far more comforting, if you could, just knowing that you have done this process over and over so many times and you do it so well that the company that, has the product asks you, Dr. Olson, to do the teaching to other doctors, right? And for me, once I figured that out, I was like, I'm definitely in good hands, and that's aside from all the cool office stuff, all the cool technology and everything. This is the guy that teaches other people how to do this process. I'm in good hands.
yeah. I think it's cool that you did this much digging. Most people don't, and I think it says a lot for just your personality, and you like to know, you want to be in the
Right.
know. It's very interesting. I do think there are lots of patients like that. We welcome obviously both kinds. Some that are just like, hey, just do it,
Just do
fix
it.
it. I don't want to know anything. And
Right.
then we understand that sometimes it's important to build trust through education, through content. That's obviously purpose of this was just to build this relationship and trust for doing this procedure. So
Right.
what were the greatest fears? You show up for the day, we're taking your teeth out. It's the day we're taking your teeth out and placing a new smile in. So what was your greatest fear that day? You mentioned maybe possibly the way it was going to look, but maybe also pain.
So my greatest fear, to be frank with you, was initially I thought it was full anesthesia.
Gotcha.
And then I found out that it wasn't, everything was local. And I was like, ooh, like again, I said previously, it's barbaric to rip teeth out of your face. Right. And I'm like, man, I'm going to be awake and conscious for this whole thing. And I don't know about, like I'm not, again, I can handle pain, but I do not like it at all.
Right.
So that was my thing is, man, I'm going to have to get all of these shots and it's going to be like, it's going to swell and it's going to this and my recovery is going to be slow because of all the swelling and stuff. And then that wasn't the case.
It's awesome.
It was all the local stuff. And I mean, if we're moving into, this conversation moving into the actual process, for me, the process, like I sent you videos of you working on my mouth. To me, that's how easy it was for me to handle. You know, we were having discourse and conversation, and I'm taking pictures while you're ripping my teeth out and stuff. That to me was, it doesn't hurt. I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about pain right now, right?
Right.
What's the pain gonna be like afterwards? For me is what it was. After I got over that initial, "Oh, hey, it's not gonna be full anesthesia, it's
Mm.
gonna be all the local stuff." Now it's, "Oh, what's it gonna feel like when this is probably the most drastic thing I've had done to my person ever. What's it gonna be like afterwards?"
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously, what was it like afterwards? Tell us what did you go through?
So, I went home after the process, little bit of swelling. I got back to the hotel, spit up a little bit of blood. Obviously, there's going to be some blood. There were sutures and whatnot. And the directions you gave me, I think I took ibuprofen slash Tylenol, like ibuprofen 600,
Mm.
maybe with a little sort of narcotic painkiller in there. If you follow the instructions he gives you and stay ahead of the pain, it's a 2 out of 10.
Wow.
In
Oh.
regards to how much pain I had experienced prior,
Mhm.
with the tooth. If you can handle a toothache, you can handle the entire process of
Mhm.
of the work that I had done, a full mouth reconstruction at Innovative Dental. If you can handle a toothache, you can handle the entire process of getting your implants done, your all on whatever, your extractions, whatever it is, just follow the directions that Dr. O gives. And my wife asked me, "Oh, would you do it again?" To be downright honest with you, to get this right and to not have to worry about the things that I have to worry, I would go through that process 3 times a week for a month.
Wow. Wow.
Like I would handle that because I'm not going to say it was easy. It definitely when it wasn't easy, but it was not a tenth of what I thought it would be.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
encouraging. Yeah, I think that that's really helpful for people to hear because I know that you imagine the worst, and I think you got to understand. And then it sounds like you obviously are sharing this that we care about you and your comfort. We know this is not a day that, and it might be our every Monday, Tuesday day for
Right.
us, but we do treat it like it is your one and done. So we understand the importance that you come in with all of these anxieties that come with it. I mean, I love you sharing that clearly for patients because they're going to come in with those same concerns. And
Yep.
so, through this process, what would you say was, if you were kind of advising yourself back in the past, what would you say was the worst part of the whole thing?
The anticipation.
Anticipation. Okay.
The anticipation was the worst part. The making the final decision to go have it done, right? The getting to that decision. And then after decision, it's yes, I'm gonna get a new mouth. And then it's like, oh, I have to go through this kind of process. But then when you get to the process, it's not as low as you thought it would. It's up here. Like the
Right.
process is not as barbaric and crazy as you think it is.
Yeah.
Right? It's not as painful. It's again, everyone's different, mind you. I had slight swelling 3 days after, you couldn't tell,
Yeah.
right? So that and let's see, the worst part, I don't even know. Oh, I'll tell you, to be honest, the worst part for my personal case was I had the abscess in this particular tooth right here. I couldn't get the 6th implant there. And because of the way the bone was, it had decayed since the last time I saw you. So the plans didn't work out specifically right. Right. So I had to go with the denture on top
Mhm.
initially because this implant wasn't the way it should have been. And that's not your fault. That's the fact that I had this abscess, the one that literally ran up into my eye, degraded the bone so bad you couldn't put it there. So the plans went a little askewed. And then I had to have that denture on top. I'm sure you could. The day that happened, I wasn't extraordinarily excited about it, right?
Sure, sure.
Even a little while after, because going into it, you're like, oh yes, this is a one and done, and I'm gonna have this set. And
Mhm.
then it wasn't so because of the way that the bone had worn away.
Yeah,
So I was definitely upset about that. But it was, hey, trust the process. Like you trusted these folks for a reason. Everything's gonna work out in the end, right?
yeah,
And consequently, it did.
right.
And again, I would go through that process multiple times a week again to have
Sure.
the teeth and the mouth that I have now. So
Yeah,
in the long run, the denture wasn't a big deal at all, in hindsight, but that initially was the most difficult thing.
sure. That's totally understandable. And,
Yep.
I tell people, I love that you actually shared that. I mean, a lot of people would shy away from anything that potentially was a challenge during treatment. That's not reality.
Right.
Never is. I mean, obviously we have some patients and really probably the majority that it's very minimal challenges or
Right.
deviation from the expected.
Yep.
But deviations do happen wherever we're dealing with the body and health. And it's really not about avoiding all challenges or consequences. It's about managing them and getting to our final result correctly,
Yep.
and doing it with as minimal challenges for our patient as possible and making the right judgment. I mean, I tell people sometimes if we do have to make a decision that maybe isn't great in the short run, like wearing a denture, we're not. It's easier to screw in teeth the day of, and we do that for most people.
Right.
But we have to use judgment sometimes and do what's best for you long term. And even if it takes more work, even if it's a little bit of no one wants to give the sour news that hey, you got to wear a denture for
Right.
12 weeks or so. So this is a important thing for people to understand. You got to go with places, regardless of a dental office you choose. You got to go with somebody who does this routinely, regularly, and can make those judgments to try to make sure at the end you get the result that you trusted them for sure.
Right. So that was for me again. Initially I wasn't so excited about it.
Right.
And wearing a denture with sutures underneath where you just had all your teeth removed and your implants placed, it was definitely a hassle. But once I got home and got over the fact that I was salty about it, I'm like, you know what? Like, I trust Dr. O, I trust Innovative Dental, and in the end, everything is going to be all right.
Yeah.
And that was just my thing. Again, it took me a couple days
Sure.
to get beyond that, right? But it couldn't have been it was no one's fault,
Yeah.
right? That who do I place fault on for this? It was no one's fault. I had an abscess.
Yeah.
The bone was there when I initially met with you. By the time I got up to get everything situated and get the process done, it had worn down some of the bone there.
Yeah.
That just is what it is. So yeah, I that was a little part for me was getting that denture. But again, once you get home and you're like, okay, like I went to Innovative for a reason, and I'm just gonna trust the process. And in the end, the process worked out great for me.
Awesome. So now let's fast forward. You've obviously got the implants in. You did leave with a smile that day, correct? So you didn't have
Yes,
to
I
go
did.
toothless.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so what was the thing that you were most looking forward to, and maybe why was that the case?
The thing I was looking most forward to was the finals.
Yeah.
I wanted to see what
Yeah.
this looked like in the end. And I'll say the mock-up that you guys gave me was like 99% on exactly what it
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
That
Cool.
one of my most exciting things was getting that mock-up to see what it was gonna be like when I got done. But for now, what is like the ultimate thing in regards to having it is to not have to worry and not be in pain.
Right. It's awesome.
Right? The smile looks great and aesthetically it's pleasing. And I have, in my house, I'm known as the teeth god. But for me, it's the security of knowing that like when I bite something, my teeth aren't going to fall out.
Sure.
And when I can now, so if you have bad teeth, your breath isn't always the freshest. When you have rotting teeth in your mouth and you have abscesses that come and go, your mouth isn't healthy,
Mm,
right? So I was reluctant to like fully kiss my wife
sure.
while I had bad teeth. Now, and again, one of the reasons probably I did it was I can fully kiss my wife without any reservations now.
That's so
Right?
cool.
I can fully bite into food without any reservation. I love eating nuts, almonds, pistachios, all of the hard tree nuts, and I couldn't do that before. I'd have holes in my teeth, and then the nuts would get packed down in there, and you'd be picking your teeth and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. There's just so many little things and so many little nuanced happenings that happen. I couldn't even say what the ultimate happiness is, but for me, it's not having to worry.
No, no kidding. So obviously, I mean, you can tell by the photos you're posting on Instagram, yeah, I don't think you're just smiling and looking super happy in all of these family photos I've seen, but sounds like it has really transformed your interaction with the people you care about most and your career. So you mentioned something I have to ask is I'm a
Sure.
foodie. I love food. It sounds like you mentioned weddings. One of the best parts is food.
Yes.
What was your first meal after treatment or after we finished and put you in your final teeth?
Oh, my final teeth,
Yeah.
I went there, we went I went to Top of the Rock,
Yeah.
which for those of you who don't know, it's a major tourist place in Branson, Missouri. If you get a
Yeah.
chance, go there. We went to Top of the Rock, and I had like a brioche sandwich with hard bread,
Awesome.
and you just bite down into it, and
Yeah.
just from years and years of like, "Uh-oh, what's gonna happen?" And then nothing happens, and you keep chewing and nothing happens, and nothing happens, and you're like, "Yes, like, my teeth work the way they're supposed to,"
Right.
right? I don't have to worry about them falling out. I don't have to worry about pain. I don't have to worry about biting too hard and something pops off or something like that. It was a hard bread sandwich. I
Yeah.
remember maybe ciabatta or brioche bread or something. I have this. It was a steak sandwich, as a matter of fact, and even with my provisionals in the ones I got post denture, the provisionals, those I can eat most things with. I was still a little leery, about when you have a denture and then you move to more permanent teeth. You're reluctant, it's to still do things. Now I have no reluctancy whatsoever to eat whatever I want.
Yeah. Phenomenal, man. I love that. So
Yeah.
obviously, man, talk about life's moments. We take them for granted. If you're blessed to have healthy teeth and not breaking down and you're able to eat all these foods, we don't realize how much this can really transform quality of life. And so I love hearing that from you. Did you notice any changes with your speech or conversation?
So for me, because I had those, so I'll do two separates, right? With my speech one, and then with conversation the other.
Sure.
With my speech, initially, when I got those little snap-on smiles in my mouth, it would change my speech a little bit. It took me a minute to catch up and kind of figure out how to finagle my tongue and my mouth and my teeth and whatnot, so that I could speak appropriately. So that was two separate occasions that I had that. Then with the denture, the way the denture was, their air would come out right here.
Right there. Yeah.
Or if I started to like project my voice, they would. And now, mind you, this is until I figured out how to keep them in the appropriate way, right? There was a little whistle kind of that would come out above the tooth between the gum line and the tooth. So that took some getting used to. And then even with the provisional, it was like that because the initial provisional that you put in is flat so the implants can heal and it's not contoured to your gum line and whatnot. So that took a little bit getting used to, and I would some of the like this and that and stuff like that, it would make a little whistle or whatnot, and it took some getting used to. And then I'd say it took me maybe 3 days to get fully functional with my permanent set.
Yeah.
Right? You just had to like figure out how to move your tongue and enunciate some of the words that you were having trouble with before. So that it didn't take long at all.
Yeah.
Now, in regards to actual conversation with people, what I've noticed, and these are the little tiny things that even now, a year later, I'm still picking up on. People are more apt to hold conversation with you,
Wow.
right? Before it was, here's what it is, here's the conversation. And mind you, that when I say people, I mean strangers, right?
Mhm.
I go up and speak to someone, And then it's okay, go your own separate ways. Now I feel like people are just more willing to talk to me, if that makes sense.
Yep.
When you have unhealthy teeth or something like that, the general public or people that don't have teeth issues kind of like shy away from having conversation. Even now, like, I don't know, for those of you that'll be listening, if you have teeth issues, probably the first thing you look at someone is their teeth,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So knowing that, now I can look back and recognize that, hey, maybe some of these people were I probably came off as standoffish, right? I have strong features, I have bold tattoos and so on and so forth. And it's kind of like, oh, hey, who's this guy walking in? So, I know he's here, but then I'm like, hey, ladies, and my teeth shine, and they're like, oh, hey, he'll be okay to come in and talk to us. It just opens up things that before I didn't really see as an issue, but I do now that the shoe is on the other foot, if you would.
Yeah, that's incredible. So it's
Yeah.
impacted obviously your career and your
Oh,
photography.
absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
really
It's
neat. So
impacted
earlier you
every
said, I want to kind of go back to a point you made about the teeth being not adapted to your gums initially.
Yep.
And one of the things I've noticed is the industry is always trying to improve, yes, but well, obviously there's a couple of components that I kind of take issue with. One of them is this, trying to do it so fast permanently, and they're touting it cheaper. It's really not cheaper. Maybe for them it's cheaper because they're only seeing you within 24 hours to screw in your permanent teeth. But one of these things that's happening is 24-hour teeth finished, final teeth, right? Final zirconias, they fabricate overnight, right? And I think from your perspective, you just provided, I mean, we talked about how they fit your gums, how the gums heal. And so from your perspective, I think it would be interesting to say for you to give us I mean, like I said, you've done so much research.
Sure.
You know what I'm
Absolutely.
talking about.
There are several companies out there that do this, and I so I still watch teeth videos on TikTok. I'm still in the game, if
I
you
love it.
would. It just interests me. To be honest with you, if I could go back and start over my life getting out of high school, I would go and do exactly what you do.
Wow.
Like, it aside from having a splendid business and whatnot, other than maybe like cleft palate surgery or heart transplant or something like that, like and for those that are listening at home, he doesn't ask me to say this stuff. He's like, hey, do you want me to be on? Do you want to come and do this interview? Yes or no? Yes, I'll do it. I couldn't rave enough about you, Dr. O. The way that you change people's lives by just doing it again, that I don't want to I don't want to sound mushy, right? Because it's not mushy. It's literally just representative and indicative of factual statement, right? The way that you change people's lives, like you see some of these reactions when people first see their teeth, and I know exactly what they're going through, And this is because you literally just change people's lives, right? So I see again, going back to the question you asked, I see these things all the time. On TikTok, I see the ads. On YouTube, I see them all over I even watch them on TikTok. Don't get me wrong. But I know that what they're putting in is not even remotely close to what I'm getting from you or someone that does your type of process. I wish I could lift up and show you. My final restorations are beautiful teeth, and then it is literally contoured to my exact gum, right? To where now there's no more whistle that comes out. There's no more air that comes out. There are parts on here where if I wanted to, I couldn't put a piece of dental floss underneath, is how tight and good the fit is. Right. So when I see some of those things, I'm like, one day, they get their surgery done and they come back the following morning, like you said, because they have them made overnight. And I'm just like, what about the swelling? The gums are gonna recede. How are these people's finals? I'm wondering, are they all just flat against the implant? Like, I don't know. But what I do know is that I could open my mouth to any single person that's not a dentist or doesn't do this, and they will have zero clue that I have anything in my mouth other than my natural teeth.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's really cool to hear that. I mean, that's obviously, I feel like, the focus that we want to have is trying to provide our patients with the best, even if it isn't the fastest. Now, obviously, we're going as fast as I feel like biology lets us do this, right? We have to
Right.
obviously rely on implants to lock in the bone and the healing
Yep.
of the gums. And so, yeah, I like that you shared that these fit correctly and nice to your gums. Another component, though, right? And you mentioned it earlier in our discussion, is a fear you might have had about how they were going to look. How did we help overcome that? And did you get to play a part in this decision of what your smile would look like?
So I did. So I, when I initially started looking to get it done seriously, you look and you see there are like dozens and dozens and of sorts of tooth shape, tooth size. You have oval, you have flat, you have little curves in the corner, you have this, you have that. There are so many different levels of what your final product could look like that I mine was concerned, hey, is it going to be too white? Is it gonna be not white enough? It's for me, it's I need to make sure that my so maybe because I'm a little bit of a research hound, the the final most important part to me wasn't what it was gonna look like, it was how it's gonna perform, right? Is my bite look how beautiful that is. I have a perfect bite, right? So that means when I close my teeth, everything fits together exactly how it should, right? And to me, that was the apex of because once for me, I grind. I do wear my mouthpiece every night, so I don't worry about the grinding now. But once you grind and your bite gets out of shape, to me, that's where I feel like my whole mouth started tumbling. Was when one of these my bite gets off a little bit, and then from there, it's just everything is out of whack going forward about everything. So I told you exactly what I wanted. We had a discussion of is it gonna be too white? Is it gonna be too dark? You're like, predicated upon your skin tone, this is what I think's gonna look good for you. And now I my teeth are beautiful. I have random people at weddings come to me and they say, "Oh my gosh, I don't mean to be embarrassing or intrusive, but you have the most perfect teeth."
That's awesome.
And
Yeah,
as someone who hasn't had beautiful teeth
that's
forever,
cool.
I like that is like the ultimate compliment. And I just thanks. You know? And then
Girl.
if I get into more of a conversation with it,
Yeah.
clearly I tell them, "Hey, Innovative Dental, Springfield, Missouri,
Wow.
I tell everyone I can about you. I couldn't rave about you enough. My daughter has a genetic defect. My adopted daughter has a genetic defect where she's missing teeth, right? So she has braces now that fortunately our insurance paid for them because of the severity of the deformation of her teeth or what have you. If I had to get braces on my own, or even if I had to, what's the other one? The clear one? My wife wears it. The
Yeah, Invisalign. Yeah,
Invisalign. If I
yeah.
had to do that, I would have flown my daughter to Springfield, Missouri and do that. If the the insurance that I have for my daughter isn't going to pay for her 2 implants once her teeth are straight, I am 100% flying my daughter to Springfield, Missouri to have any sort of major dental work. Anyone in my family is flying to Springfield, Missouri to have the work done.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. That's such
Yeah,
a amazing
absolutely.
compliment to our team and how we treat people. I really appreciate it. I think, man, you've answered so many of the questions already.
I'll answer all the questions you
Yeah,
got,
you're
man.
this is great.
For yeah, I was gonna say for anybody considering going to Innovative Dental, I could not have had better or more pleasurable experience than I did at Innovative. Like I said, it is like dental Disneyland. You know what? Where like you go to Disney and everything is laid out in order. All the trees are trimmed the way they're supposed to be, so on and so forth. Everyone is happy, and it's not a facade. Like the your girls aren't going in the back, cursing at one another or whatnot. I feel like even the girl you had that was with me the whole time, like that maybe that's what you get with people from Missouri. I don't know what it is. Everyone is like down home, real, feel good, honest, genuine people. And again, aside from that, so that's what my wife and I try to do in our business. It's, treat the people right and they'll come to you. Right?
Right.
That's how we feel about it. And to
Sure.
me, your business, your practice, everything from literal start the first phone call to even now, everything is 100% top notch and professional, and I couldn't be happier that I came to you guys.
Very cool. Now, I think one little thing I wanted to capture
Sure.
here that I think it was really important. Now, how were you able to approve your smile?
Appro
So
You
remember
mean
the
the
try-in?
final look?
You were able to, the point I'm getting at is during like this 24-hour deal,
Sure.
because there's a big, the reason I'm spending a little bit of time on that is there's a big swing in the industry to try to do this 24-hour marketing and tell
Right,
people
because everyone wants
finals. And
instant
I'm just like,
gratification.
psychologically with people, they're all going to be happy if they came from a mess, but they're not getting any chance to adjust to their bite. They're not getting any chance to approve what it looks like. I mean, think about it. If you came in next day and I screwed in a set of teeth
And you're
and,
like, "I don't like
you're
this."
on the spot, right? What do you
Yeah.
think? And you're like,
Yeah.
well, it's better than what I had. And so
Yeah.
you don't get the chance to really not be put under the thumb and
Right.
be said, "Hey, what do you like? What do you not like about this smile? Is this a premium smile for you? Or is there, we tell people, and you maybe heard me say this before, I don't want you to like your smile. I want you to absolutely love it.
Yep.
And we can't do that if we're not getting your input, right?
So I know exactly what you're referencing here. The initial denture was just kind of what it was, right? And I understood that from the beginning that
Mhm.
this is what it has to be. The bite has to line up appropriately. It's going to shrink. The gums are going to subside,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. Even on the provisional that you guys gave me, that where it's flat across the top, the teeth lined up, but they weren't what I wanted.
Right.
Right? So coming in one of my visits prior to the final, maybe I even did it over the phone, I'm not sure. She was like, "Oh, I want to take some notes as to how you feel about your teeth and what they look like and so on and so forth." So I specifically requested that my canines be a little bit longer, that the laterals are a little bit shorter than the centrals, just because I wanted that to show right there with my mouth open. Because having bad and smaller teeth, every time I opened my mouth, there was no teeth showing, and it just looked like a dark hole, right? So I wanted my central incisors, the front two teeth, to be slightly longer than these here, and even as long as the canines here. And lo and behold, that's exactly what I got when my final was put in. I I kind of figured the doc wanted to do a reveal video with me, but I couldn't wait. Right, I got up and walked into the bathroom to look at my teeth before I could, and initially when I got out, I was like, "Oh, maybe the laterals are a little too small." Now looking back, my teeth, to me, right, are absolutely perfect. Some
Yep.
people may want theirs, completely straight, everything flush along it. You can get that. If that's what you want, you can manage that. If you want your centrals to be a little bit longer just so they show, when you're right there, when you open your mouth a little bit, that's what you can get. And if you want a little bit brighter or you want a little bit darker, listen to the doctor, because I promise you he knows best. That was for me. I got the exact teeth, and to be honest with you, my teeth were probably whiter than what I initially thought I wanted. Right now that I have them, I'm like, they're white, but they're not like obnoxious white, if that makes sense, right? They're like, "Whoo, those are nice and white," but they're not like, "Oh, definitely those are fake teeth because
Right.
they're so white," right?
Right. Yeah. Cool, man. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
so, a couple last questions here.
Sure.
I thank you so much for your time. It's been a great
Absolutely.
discussion. I'm learning a lot about what you've been processing, and I think this is very helpful for me just as a doctor. That's why I'm actually there's a lot of selfish ambitions here for me. I want to
Sure.
learn what
Sure.
patients are really going through as a provider. I think it'll
Right.
give me a lot of feedback. I'm going to go ahead and announce this here and this. By the time this comes out, I'm actually going to do a soft food diet for the 12 weeks that we ask our patients to do a pretty soft food. Basically, can't cut it with a plastic fork, shouldn't be eating it. Yeah.
So can I say something about
Please.
that? So, initially with my denture, it was soft food. I couldn't eat with the denture, right? So my
Yeah.
food had to be soft enough that I could chew it
Gummies.
with sutured gums.
Mhm.
Right? So from that, I lost a little bit of weight. So be it. That's fine. I kind of expected that, right? And by the time my swelling went down and everything, the dentures kind of like pushed out a little bit just because of the way they were formed, because they had to go over the implants and whatnot. My digestive health, if you would, because of having to eat that the soft food like that, not being able to eat continually like I had previously, my digestive health now is unreal. Unreal, if that makes any sense. My food, I digest in under 12 hours. I feel like I got an entire digestive system reset. You know, if you want to go into things, right? With that soft food diet and carrying it on for mine was more than 12 weeks. I had mine in for 5 or 6 months, right? So that gave my whole entire digestive system a chance to reset. And now I can eat food and know for a fact that it's digested in 12 hours and I'm ready to eat more food again. That's just something, again, just a little thing that you notice throughout the course, you know, as you're going through it, you're like, man, like some people might want to lose weight. I'm a smaller, you know, I'm not heavier. So I didn't care to lose too much weight, you know,
Mhm.
but so be it. That's what happened because you can't eat the typical things that you do. But for me, it was, again, just a little asterisk next to the thing, digestive system reset, if you would.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
makes sense. So what's the greatest regret during this smile journey? Is there any, if any? What do you have?
Not doing it sooner.
Not doing it sooner. That's incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've
not doing
heard
it
that a
sooner.
lot, but
Other
I
than
always
that,
yeah.
yeah, other than that, I'm telling you, the process was so, for lack of better terminology, I will say easy. That my wife, I said before, my wife was like, "Oh, would you do it again if you had to?" Like, to get the final result that I have now, knowing that my mouth is entirely healthy, I can eat what I want, I can kiss my wife when I want.
Mhm.
Um, I would go through the entire process, the surgery process, everything, the healing process. I would go through that 3 times a week for a month to get to this. Is the maybe that's a testament to the way that you do your work, or you get out in front of the pain, or you just know what you're doing, so it's not a slop show, if you would, right?
Mhm.
I just that I can't say it enough. People that are scared at home watching, it's not even remotely as bad as you think it's going to be.
Yeah, that's encouraging. So, hey, what would you tell somebody who's going, man, I hear you. Thanks for all this information. I'm encouraged. I feel like I can trust Dr. Olson, but hey, the treatment's just too dang expensive. What would you tell them?
There is nothing more expensive than neglecting your mouth,
Yeah.
right? There's nothing more expensive than healthcare costs that will come along with it down the end of the line. And there's no price that I wouldn't pay. Hate to tell you this now, doc. Haha. There's no price that I wouldn't pay to have the final restoration that I have now.
Right. Well,
Right? I
well
would have
worth your
paid,
investment.
I'm not going to say this to you because I don't want you to get any ideas, right? But I would have paid double.
Yeah.
You know, looking back, right?
Sure.
Initially, from the product that I have now, the experience that I had, the process that I went through, if I would have paid double what I paid, I would still be as happy as I
Well,
am today.
Josh, I mean, honestly, that's our goal. I mean, I love that you tease about it, but the reality is at the end of the day, if I can have somebody when they're done with their experience in our practice and our team say that they would have paid twice,
Yep.
what a win, right?
Yeah,
Because that
absolutely.
means we charged a fair fee. You got more than what you paid for, even though it is expensive. No matter where you go, you know this. If you've done the research, that's another factor I would maybe bring up here is
I was just going to say something about that
yeah, go
actually.
for it.
So I went to my local doctor, my local dentist. Sorry. I went to several of them. They were charging me, or they were looking to charge. Mind you, I live in an affluent area. Okay. So that they're going to be a little more on the expensive side. I could drive down the road 5 miles and be in a less affluent area, right? The doctor, one of the doctors that I chose was asking me to pay almost triple,
Hmm.
almost triple for not even a full mouth restoration. He wanted to try and save some of the teeth, do root canal. I'm telling you, doc, I don't have to tell you you were there. I figured you'd show my picture. My picture
We
is
will.
up
Yeah,
on Instagram somewhere. I had nubs, okay,
sure.
for some teeth. He wanted to root canal those, some of those,
Wow.
and do some crowns and do some bonding and stuff like that for triple, almost triple. of what I paid at Innovative for an entirely new healthy mouth. It's worth every single penny.
Fantastic. Josh, man, I can't thank you enough for being our first
Absolutely.
guest. I mean, the amount of insight you've given myself, and I know the viewers is we're very grateful for that. I know that you took some time out of your day to do this, and
Sure.
I just can't
Anything
thank you
for
enough.
you, Doctor O.
Oh man,
I still owe you a nice set of tri-tip steak.
there you
I
go.
guess
You know the way to my heart.
that's
So, hey, if you're watching, obviously, and you watched to this point, you obviously have learned quite a bit. Thank Josh by thumbing up the video and for his time. Leave an amazing comment in the section below. And I want to encourage those that are on the fence. Obviously, I selfishly would want to see you here. I think we're a great office with a highly qualified team, and we'll give you an amazing smile. I feel like we give people the best of the best. And so we would love to see you here. But I hope this has been an encouragement for even those that might not. I know that we're not maybe for everyone. Not everybody's going to travel, but the purpose of this channel isn't just to see people come to Innovative Dental Implant Center. It is to be a light in a challenging struggle. We talked about your backstory. There's tons of people just like you, Josh, that had suffered for some time. And I would love to hear stories of people that maybe even didn't come here that had made, because of the content we create, have improved their life by finding someone, listening to this discussion, and learned a lot about this process, just like you did, Josh, and all your research. So this is a great time to ask you to subscribe so you don't miss any more content. We have an amazing, like I said, another podcast. It's going to be where I interview and discuss this process, all the treatment, implants, extractions, screwed in set of teeth with other providers. And so they're going to give us, we're not going to have a nerdy talk. We're going to have a talk that's around what patients would understand and what the layman discussion. So sharing what we go through with our patients, some of our philosophies in care. And I think it's going to be really helpful for those that are really doing this research process, right? Don't you think, Josh, that'd be helpful?
absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely.
So another way that we help people learn is at our live implant webinar. We host it every Thursday at 3:00. It is live, like I said. You can watch a replay on our YouTube channel, but go and register at idspringfield.com/live. And on that registration, we're going to be able to save you up to $5,000 on treatment. So it's a real great savings for you. Like I said, subscribe, look for the All On Expert podcast coming up. And you know what, guys? Keep smiling. It looks good on you.
Thank you for tuning in to Smiles in the Wild. These stories are a testament to the power of a smile and the remarkable journeys of those who have chosen full arch smile reconstruction. These stories reflect the authentic experiences, perspectives, and emotional journeys of those who have chosen full arch smile reconstruction. If today's episode inspired you, follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts and consider sharing this journey with others. Until next time, keep smiling and remember the wild beauty of transformation that awaits.